On the 21st of July, 1798, the French army of Napoleon Bonaparte clashed with the Egyptian vassals of the Ottoman Turks on a plateau near the city of Cairo. What if there had been a different version of events? Scientists and archaeologists today are discovering that the way in which the pyramids were built and the science behind the entire complex at Giza is much more complicated and sophisticated than we often appreciate. Napoleon's army arrived to Egypt with a team of historians and archaeologists who began the process of trying to unravel the mysteries of ancient Egypt. For instance, it was during this expedition that the Rosetta Stone, the large stone tablet that years later allowed the first Egyptologists to decipher Egyptian hieroglyphic writing, was discovered. But what if there had been much more discovered? What if the French had found some of the secrets we're only beginning to unravel today? How different might the world be? Recent research has begun to uncover a lot of previously unknown facts about the pyramids and the Giza plateau. For instance, it is now known that a small tributary river once ran to Giza from the much larger River Nile, while modern research has also revealed a system of tunnels and channels underneath the pyramids at Giza. Some have speculated that this might have formed part of an ancient power network. Imagine, if you will, that the Great Pyramids of Giza were not what we think they are on the surface, vast tombs for dead kings or pharaohs, and that instead, in the late 1790s, Napoleon's scientific team began to uncover evidence of a highly sophisticated energy system around and beneath the pyramids. For instance, the limestone casing that once covered the outer shell of the pyramids is highly conducive towards the transfer of energy. Though this casing has largely been knocked off the pyramids through earthquakes and other natural disasters over centuries, and much of it was repurposed to erect buildings in Cairo in past times, we know that the Tura limestone used is highly conducive towards electrical transmission. The chambers within the pyramids, some of which remain inaccessible to this day, as well as the channels and tunnels underneath the monuments, could very well have constituted an ancient energy system, which was utilized by a much more advanced civilization than we previously knew about. After all, pyramids were built elsewhere all over the world, notably by the Mayan and Olmec peoples of Central America, and there is evidence of the transmission of mythological knowledge systems from right after the last ice age, some 12,000 years ago. Perhaps the ancient Greek philosopher Plato, when he wrote about the fabled city of Atlantis, was actually describing a much more sophisticated ancient culture in Egypt that was able to harness abundant and clean energy through the technology at Giza. How would our world have been transformed if the earliest French Egyptologists discovered this system back in the days of Napoleon's expedition? Imagine a situation where in the winter of 1798 or the spring of 1799, a team of French archaeologists entered the King's Chamber, the most important room in the Great Pyramid, the largest of the three main pyramids at Giza. Here they discovered that far from being a simple burial chamber, the King's Chamber was actually a resonant chamber, one which amplified earth vibrations of the kind that are emitted via tectonic activity or something more basic like the movement of water. The pyramid, these Frenchmen soon began to realize, was actually an energy-producing structure, one which used the movement of water from the River Nile and the tributaries leading off it to Giza to generate an immense amount of energy. By amplifying the natural earth vibrations which occurred around the Giza plateau, the pyramids created energy. This was then amplified via the pyramids and the chambers they were constructed out of. Finally, this energy was focused upwards to the very tip of the Great Pyramid. Although it's long since gone, there was once a capstone here made out of a mixture of gold and other precious metals. This, our French scientists soon discovered, was a transmitter which was used to transmit the energy generated by the pyramids. Soon, the French Egyptologists realized something. Rather than relying on the burning of coal and other fossil fuels, which the British had started a few decades earlier to begin the Industrial Revolution in England, this ancient Egyptian power system, the possible source of fabled Atlantis, could be used to power changes that would transform the world over time. What would this alternative world have looked like? The Industrial Revolution would still have occurred, but in a way which was completely different. Instead of cities like Newcastle, Lille and Cologne in England, France and Germany, Emerging as major centers of coal mining to power industrial factories in Manchester and other cities, clean energy would have been developed using the rediscovered ancient Egyptian knowledge systems. Of course, this would have required investment and time. The pyramids were not built overnight, and even with modern methods, it would have taken decades before such systems would have emerged abundantly. But over time, pyramids which employed the same systems as the ancient pyramids would have appeared. These would have been built near rivers and great cities: London, Paris, Berlin, Vienna, and Turin. Each would have sported a great pyramid that provided clean, abundant energy to the inhabitants of these cities, with tectonic power and riverine energy channeled into the pyramids and concentrated in the chambers there, much like how our modern clean energy systems operate. As time went by, new technological methods emerged. Instead of having to build vast pyramids that required tens of thousands of workers years to build, instead, smaller pyramids employing the same technology were developed. These began to appear in towns and even near larger villages. A world opened up by second half of the 19th century in which clean energy was being provided by thousands of pyramids of varying sizes all over the world. Of course, this would have had major implications for how the world developed. The Middle East, for instance, is known for its economic development in modern times being almost entirely based around petroleum exploitation. That oil would largely have stayed in the ground once the energy system of the ancient Egyptians was fully deployed. But nevertheless, the position of the Middle East and other parts of the world which lie along tectonic plates and great rivers would have made this an area of great energy production all the same. Imagine a world in which an earthquake, while still a natural disaster, also provided a huge energy boom as the energy was radiated and stored into the world's energy pyramids. Finally, there would have been a very different future lying ahead for humanity. Instead of the existential fear and doubt that comes along with the climate crisis of the 21st century, there would simply be no climate crisis at all. With clean, abundant energy available to humanity after the discoveries right at the end of the 1790s, most of the world's fossil fuels simply remained in the ground or under the world's oceans. Not only would this have meant a more secure future, but also a safer world. It's estimated that 7 million people die from air pollution every year. In the world of safe energy, provided by the knowledge found in the ancient pyramids, there would be no such deaths. The Sahel, the part of Africa which is rapidly being swallowed up by the Sahara Desert as a result of climate change, would still be prosperous. And North Africa, as the home of the culture which gave so much energy and knowledge to the world, would become a cultural mecca. The Great Pyramids themselves at Giza, we might imagine, would become a quasi-religious site, the source of the world's energy and transformation, while Cairo would develop as one of the world's most revered cities, a modern metropolis like Tokyo, Shanghai, or London. None of this is hard to imagine. The secrets of the pyramids of Giza are still revealing themselves today, over 2.25 centuries after Napoleon and his French army landed in Egypt and began to uncover the secrets of the ancient Egyptians. Studies in 2024 and 2025 have revealed new knowledge about the pyramids, the river that once ran to Giza and the subterranean tunnels underneath them. Who knows how much more will be learned in time and how it will change our world.